So, we just passed the Pecos River and we're approaching the city of Santa Fe from the east, which is going to require us going up over Glorieta Pass, and we're on the Interstate Highway 25. I don't remember the exact altitude of Glorieta Pass. I believe it's over 8,000 feet, and I would guess that it's probably the highest point on the United States interstate system. Could be wrong. There could be some higher ones in Colorado. But anyway, just thought it would be it's an interesting moment in geography. Santa Fe probably has one of the most unusual geographic settings of any major city in the United States. The city itself is at over 7,000 feet, which a lot of people don't know this. They think of Santa Fe as, like, I don't know, a desert or something. But I think that Santa Fe is actually the highest altitude U.S. city of any size, and it's probably in a certain sense the most geographically secluded, because at least coming from the east, you simply cannot reach the city without going over a substantial mountain pass, which can be very dangerous and difficult, and closes typically several times a winter. So basically Santa Fe is just on the other side of this mountainous pass. It's a city that kind of sits on the other side of the mountains, just in a dry valley. One of the more interesting, one of the more singular cities in the United States. I think you can really only compare it to New Orleans, as far as it's a place that has a truly different identity, and you could be dropped out of an airplane in Santa Fe and you'd immediately know you were in Santa Fe. And that's not the case with a lot of cities. I mean, most of the places you pass between, the east and the west, the middle of the country, you were dropped on a random street, you would not know necessarily if you were in Indiana, Ohio, New York, or so forth. But this is kind of a singular location. The other fascinating thing about Santa Fe, as far as the larger American picture, is that, as we know, it's a very elite, very desirable location. It's chosen heavily by the rich and famous for their second homes. I mean, pretty much any celebrity that you want to see, if you spend enough time hanging around the old town and the plaza, you can see pretty much any celebrity you care to see. And a huge amount of what you see on television is filmed typically in the outskirts of Santa Fe, or even back up to the northeast towards Las Vegas, Nevada. But even music videos like Guns N' Roses' November Rain are on the outskirts of Santa Fe. Almost every John Wayne movie that you've ever seen, no matter where it's supposedly set, they might be set in Wyoming, Montana. Typically they're filmed within a 50-mile radius of here, often back east of us on the plains, because it gives those enormous big sky type sensations, and it's really easy to shoot out there because the modern world exists to such a minimal level that all you have to really do is edit out some power lines, and your set already exists. If you move away the modern cars and maybe electronically edit out power lines, you've already got your old West stage set. But anyway, so Santa Fe, what I was getting to is it's kind of a city built on vibes. There is nothing that I'm aware of in a resource sense or a real economic sense in Santa Fe. I don't believe it has any kind of mine. I don't believe it has any form of manufacturing. It doesn't even have a major university. I mean, it's the capital of New Mexico, which is one of the smallest states in population, and in fact one of the poorest states. So there's really nothing logical that would make Santa Fe, a hive of wealth and fashion. And of course, it's also a place that the average person can make very good money, because there's a tremendous amount of trade demand or services. It's just a very, very vibrant economy there for essentially no reason other than natural beauty. I mean, to my knowledge, the altitude, the setting is obviously exquisite. The altitude kind of makes the air sparkle. It never gets hot really in the summer. We're going to be 85 today, and that's about all that it can get to at the city being over 7,000 feet. So it's just a fascinating picture of how, you know, affluence works in America, that, you know, some of our most booming or growing or promising places have no material basis behind them. There's not a canal, there's not a lake, I mean, there's not a railroad, there's nothing you can point to other than just pure consensus desirability. I mean, people move to Santa Fe because it's Santa Fe. It has a brand, it has an image, and because a lot of other people have moved there, and the process becomes completely self-catalyzing. And there's an interesting history behind that. In the earlier part of the 20th century, there was a community-wide consensus to build and even remodel everything to look like the oldest Spanish buildings in Santa Fe. Now, there genuinely are 400-year-old, you know, adobe buildings in Santa Fe. I'm not saying it's fake like Disneyland, but what would surprise you is how much of what you see is actually taking the style of those buildings and extrapolating it out. So, you know, the ancient, and they still build in real adobe to some extent, but in any case, the ancient adobe looking structure that you see in Santa Fe, it may be 300 years old, or it may have been built in 1950. And look at that trailer ahead of us. You see those logs? Those are what are called vigas, and those are used as exposed beams in the Santa Fe style homes. So that's a tradesman running into Santa Fe, and he's going to make a nice paycheck today installing those vigas. They could be used as home rafters, or they could be used as a shade structure, but that's just a coincidental expression of what I was talking about, and I can't believe it happened. But anyway, so that's Santa Fe. It's a booming American metropolis that's built entirely on being something unique. Its entire trademark is that it is not your typical, you know, kind of characterless, just rows of McDonald's and Walmarts. It's a mountain city. It's higher than Denver, higher than any of the major cities in Colorado, and it just maintains a lifestyle brand that has become its industry. And what's crazy is that this, and it's unfortunate, honestly, for some of the local people, they get priced out. That's how hip it is. And I'm not glorifying that. I'm just expressing, you know, the reality that their brand has become an industry, which actually creates greater affluence than most places engaged in productive industry. So it's a strange time we live in, but I just thought I'd take a while and talk about Santa Fe as we slowly but surely climb up over the Glorieta.